Right, hello everybody. Hello Mark, hello Mark, are you all right? Hope everybody's all right. Welcome to the Yorkshire Health and Fitness Podcast. This is going to be our introduction one. This is going to be our very first podcast. We're going to have a discussion about a little bit of background about ourselves, where we've come from, what we're doing now. And then we've got a couple of topics that we really want to discuss that are really useful that we found in the gym, etc. So I'm Graham. Welcome everybody. I've got, like I just said, I've got Martin, who's my brother, co-owner of St John's Health and Fitness, what the business that we run, and we've got a good mate, Mark Elm, with us as well. Say hello, Mark. Say hello, Mark.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
All right, there we go. Nice to see you.
I even waved. Is this going to be recorded? Is this going to be? I even waved.
You can put these on. This could be as we could be live on camera as well. So a bit of background. So I'll just go into me and Mark. I'll discuss us as a pair because we both kind of started this business as a joint venture back in the day. So 10, 11 years ago, kind of after we've retired from rugby, a little bit, we kind of got into as personal training. We wanted to stay involved in fitness and health, just help as many people. It was really our passion, kind of while we're playing it, what we love doing. So we got into us coaching. So we've always kind of been involved with coaching kids and stuff like that, etc. We've got our own kids, we've had kids. So we've gone through that and we really wanted to branch out and kind of keep involved and broaden his horizons a little bit. So 11, 12 years ago, Matt, is it 12 years ago now?
Could even be 13 now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In fact, it is. We were talking about it the other day. So we did as level 2, level 3 personal training. Started off just dipping his toe a little bit, did a bit of outdoor PTing. We started some outdoor boot camps just to try and get some numbers up and get the word out there, what we're doing, try getting some groups together. Kind of one thing led to another. We made a real good success, really. Quite quickly, it grew the outdoor. I think it were at a time when the outdoor fitness was really popular. There were more and more. I think we were really in the early days. We started an outdoor boot camp. But I think along them lines, it were about the time things were starting to kick on. Before we knew it, we started ours in Wakefield. Before we knew it, there were other boot camps starting. You were seeing other signs. But that were a real good base for us, and it built us a decent clientele. And then one thing led to another. We moved premises. We left the base where we were in Wakefield, and we stayed in Wakefield. We just moved to another outdoor venture. Started doing a little bit more work in schools. Coaching, going around, like I said, doing either rugby coaching, doing boot camps in schools. That kicked on really well, and it's kind of all built really till the day where we finally decided to fully take the plunge and go back to school. And we went back to university, and we studied as sports performance, sports coaching degrees. So we both went back and absolutely loved this time there. That was quite as well more mature students. So we'd both come out of it really confident kind of in his business, and like the knowledge that we'd learned, I think, as well as the working. So we kind of built up a real good practice of working in the industry, and then extending his knowledge with Mark, who was here with us. He was one of our lecturers at that time. That's another way, but we've known each other way before that. So it was real good, and that gave us a confidence. And then really, really soon afterwards, we got a good opportunity to take on some premises, which we just decided to jump in and give it a bash, and that is now St John's Health and Fitness, which some of you will know, some of you won't have a clue. So much more personal training, lots more to offer. We've got some real good coaches involved as well. We've got a footballer, we've got a female rugby player, we've got a triathlete. So we've kind of built it over the 4 years. It's built really good. So lots of kind of experience with different types of people. We've got all walks of life, haven't we, Mark? We've got some athletes. We've got a couple who are really keen runners, good quality runners, and then we've just got your general population who just want to train and be healthy.
You're talking about members, yeah.
Can't talk about members.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a brief summary of where we are now, really, from us members. So we've got lots of variation, and we have clients. General health and fitness, weight loss. We run lots of different programs. We're always picking Mark's brain about recently. He's just finished his PhD. I'm sure we're going to go on to that in a minute, which is great. So that's where this link and this podcast has decided to come from. because we're constantly bitting and batting between each other, and we're chatting about latest research and feedback, and Mark's got an interest in what's happening in our side of things. So it's really good. So we'll keep chatting. We'll go back to it, but I think you've heard enough now. I think you've got a brief outline. Do you think that covers everything, Mark, from us? Can we pass on to Mark now? And
that covers us. No, I don't need to add out on that. It'll just be more when we talk about what we're going to talk about, I think, today, hopefully. Cool.
So that's me and Mark. That's our qualifications in a nutshell, and our business, what we are currently doing at the moment. So we'll go on to as number 3 of the podcast, as good mate Mark. Go on then, mate. Fire away.
The unfortunate third wheel. Yeah, so my name's Dr. Mark Elm. As Gray said, I've just recently passed the PhD.
You had to get that in, didn't you?
The doctor bomb.
Newly doctor. You might as well throw a father of 2 in and all.
Well, let's not have a competition. We've got the most kids, Gray?
Yeah, that's it. I'll take that one all day long.
Yeah, I've got the youngest, but I'm not the most. So I currently work at Leeds Beckett University as a lecturer in sports coaching with a specific focus on youth physical development and strength conditioning. So that's kind of my day job. I've followed a more traditional kind of career path in terms of went to university straight from college, did a master's and PhD while I was and a PGC, sorry. I spent about 13 years at Wakefield College teaching a blend of further education, higher education, which is, we're not reconnected, I suppose, because we've always been mates since we were probably about nearly 30 years ago now, I would have thought. We're pushing 30.
Way back, mate, yeah. Went back to his Westgate days. Westgate Red Out, under 14, so I'm pushing 30 now. You guys kind of came through that degree program that I wrote. Not bragging, but I wrote that program that you both did, so I'm glad you enjoyed it and learned a lot from it. Left there in about 2016 to come to Leeds Beckett to pursue my PhD. So kind of while I've been doing that academic path, I've always been a strength and conditioning coach. That was my kind of passion. My interest was the elite athlete, and actually not the elite athlete, because I think people think that means that you're kind of working with the very top end if you're a strength and conditioning coach. I probably spent more time coaching junior youth athletes and then more recently into the semi-pro world. So not the Olympians of this world, but still very, very competitive rugby league players mainly, but all sorts of different sports along the way. So I've done a bit of research, done a lot of coaching, and done a lot of teaching. So that's kind of, I've got a pretty broad base of many things, but it's all within that kind of construct of developing youth people, developing the physical qualities of children, and then the more kind of competitive side of coaching, rugby league players mainly. So a bit of sports science, bit of coaching, and that's kind of my general background. So that's kind of where I come in, really, is to bring the academic world into some of our conversation to try and hopefully make sure that you guys are up to date with whatever we're seeing in the academic world, and the research literature is making its way to the gym floor. There's a lot of personal trainers have literally no clue about anything other than the 3-week course that they did at level 3, and I don't think that kind of serves their clients as well as it should do. So it's always refreshing to get to have a conversation to see how it pans out, other than off the paper and into the gym.
Yeah. Well, I think Gray, just on that one, I think this is where I'll add my little bit now. Then I'll come into it a little bit more. It was just what you're just saying there, Mark. So I think what me and Gray's biggest lesson from his degree, from being there, was number one, where you get your information from. And be a bit critical in the way you look at things, and don't take everything as on face value, because there's a lot of people putting a lot of bullshit out there. And number two, to always keep learning. I never read up until this thing, and I read pretty much every day now. I have whether it's specifically about coaching or training or not, but I do read loads. I'm not into fiction books, by the way. I don't read Harry Potter. I don't like that. But I
how wrong with Harry Potter?
But the reading. So this is where our conversation. This is where the podcast came from, wasn't it? So we'd meet up and we'd talk about research papers or what he's been doing, or books that we'd read, and we'd speak about it. And this is where it came from, and it's how we take that knowledge then to put onto the gym floor, just to give the best just to make the people who train get best value for money and the best all-round program for them. And there's no perfect one. We know that, don't we? There's no perfect training plan, but as long as you keep trying to make it as near perfect as you can for them, then we feel like we're doing as members justice in that, don't we? We're serving them, we're doing them as and that goes on nutrition as well as the training side of it. You know, like the whole thing. The better information we can give them, hopefully, the longer they stay with us, they enjoy it. They get more enjoyment, they get challenged, and they get the results, hopefully, that they want to do, and keep pushing them on to the next goal. So so that's pretty much where we've come from, innit?
Yeah, totally spot on. I think the reason why we really decided to kind of do this podcast thing and to push stuff out there, what you just touched on it there, the kind of amount of bullshit that there is out there on social media and stuff, in it. You know, like there's a lot of don't get me wrong, there's lots of good coaches and there's a lot of good people out there. You know, we spoke about them earlier with your Mike Boyles, your Bretts, Contrary. You know, like there's lots of good, but it's flooded by garbage. And kind of social media is the instant thing. That's where people cut. So we our passion is a little bit, get rid of that and kind of we'll put the realistic. That's what we always talk about, innit? You know, like what's real, what's the latest research, what's the proven stuff. And I think between us, this little blend of, we're kind of working in the fitness industry. Mark, you're more the professional side of things, aren't you? The lecturing in the unis, you're definitely more of the strength and conditioning. So between us, we think we've got a real good triangle of kind of information, experience. Like I said, we've got years and years of experience through in the coaching side of things, and then with obviously Mark's knowledge now is awesome. So, and like we just want everybody to actually take something out of these podcasts, you know, like, because we just think that between us we can really help people with whatever it is they're trying to achieve, unless they just want to go off and watch loads of Instagram videos with people in the six packs that do a 12-minute body fat 12-minute fat burning session.
I can guarantee that there'll be no shirtless episodes of this podcast. I can assure you.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Although I won yesterday, it was 12-minute fat burning bodyweight. Oh my god, it was embarrassing. It was so bad. There were a girl in a little gym shark, kind of, you know, like a leggings and thing, and then a bloke who were just fully right. It were massive. It were a right unit, rippling six pack, doing all these cheesy bodyweight moves, you know, like doing like little toe taps and stuff and dancing about as if they're going to get them results, as if you're going to like him doing a body. It's all just, but people kind of, some people just like watching it, don't they? And they get followers and stuff. But we don't. We kind of want to be more realistic. We want to pass all our knowledge on as experience to make it kind of achievable for people as well. Make everything's going to be realistic. So I think that's kind of what we want. One thing that we wanted to talk about a little bit today, wasn't it? Because we're a lot of one of the biggest probably barriers, we would say, Mark, which we've talked about loads of times in past. You won't see this side of things because you're working with professional athletes generally who have to. They're at their club, they're in their gym because they have to be. They're getting paid to train, getting paid to keep fit and strong. Part of their training and for them to earn their money is their designated time in the gym with you. Us, on the other hand, we're trying to work with people who are busy. They've got jobs, they've got kids, you know what I mean? They've got home life, they've got all the stresses. So getting results is more difficult when people are really busy. The outside stresses that they have outside in the gym, then it's all a knock-on effect. So Matt, one of the biggest things is time, innit? One of the biggest things people say to us is, I don't have time to do enough exercise or to plan my meals because I'm busy running kids, blah, 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 everywhere. And that is definitely probably the biggest barrier that people have, is saying they don't have time to fully, to buy into a system, let's say, to a program and exercise, or even if it's in the head, they think they haven't got time to exercise. So there's a paper out pretty recently, a big research paper about how little you actually have to do in the gym to get results, but it's about programming. So we're going to have a little discussion about that, aren't we? Yeah.
So the paper that it was something that I shared from a sports medicine journal called by IVERSEN et al. In 2021 called No Time to Lift. And so the idea was it was a systematic review of the literature regarding what are the strength and hypertrophy effects of different forms of resistance training, and to kind of look at maybe some of the kind of preconceptions about how you should train and what you need to do to train to get stronger and grow lean muscle mass. So it kind of, I've just been, we had a conversation before we came on air, but to me, having been doing this for 20 years or so, it was a lot of common sense, but the conversation was, yeah, it's common sense now because I've been doing this for 20 years. But for your lay person who doesn't know what we know and hasn't got our experiences, they probably don't see this as common sense. This is probably brand new information. So it's just probably worth clarifying what is the minimum effective dose, what's the least you can do, and what's the most effective way to do that and get results, having the least amount of outlay of time. So how can you go to the gym or train at home and get results, but not have to spend your week doing it? And that's kind of the premise of the paper.
Can you just dive a little bit deeper into what? So when we're talking about results, just for anybody listening there, when we're talking about results here, we're talking about kind of strength improvements, aren't we?
Well,
muscle
paper,
and muscle gain,
and muscle mass. Yeah, it's not it's not full body composition. Some people they'll think results is weight loss, etc. Well, this is purely strength. But we all know the importance of strength. That we how that helps. It's a big part of that cog. In the fitness.
Three outcomes this paper specifically talk about. The first was hypertrophy, which is increasing muscle mass. So that might affect body composition, the fact that you might be growing more muscle. If you have the same amount of body fat, same total amount of body fat, and your muscle grows, your body fat percentage will drop. You haven't got any less fat, but the percentage of your body total makeup might change slightly. So there's a little bit of body composition around that. So it's like that's
definitely an improvement in body composition.
Yeah, so you might get heavier, and that's something as well, which is a bit of a concern for a lot of people. I mean, I'm not immune to this. If I get heavier, I don't like it. But you might get heavier, but you might be healthier and heavier at the same time. So healthy and heavy don't always have to be like opposite things. If you've gained more muscle mass, that's generally speaking a good thing. It's very rare that somebody can gain more muscle mass and be more unhealthy as a consequence of that. So that's one thing, like increasing muscle mass or hypertrophy, as I would call it. Two would be strength. Now, everybody can get stronger. That's irrelevant. And strength and muscle mass don't always happen at the same time as well. So you can get stronger and have no change in muscle mass. You can be the same weight and get heavy and get stronger. So that's, again, two different things. So, and the third one was muscular endurance. Which is important for some people, but for the life of me, I don't know why. So there were the three things. If you're talking about, you're right, how good you look in the mirror, and do I drop a dress size, that kind of thing, that's not what we're going to be talking about today. But
Mark, saying that, with the hypertrophy training, if you manipulate your diet a little bit, you could do that. You could gain that as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody gets stronger and puts on lean muscle, you are not going to look worse in the mirror. I promise you that.
No,
that is absolutely true. If you add 5 Mars bars for every set of exercise that you do, you're not going to look any better. But you will still get stronger and you will still get more muscle mass. So you're absolutely right. Everything that we're going to talk about in terms of body composition will always first and foremost come back to diet and nutrition. So, but this paper is only specific talking about like physical outcomes from a muscle point of view, from increasing muscle mass or increasing what the muscle can do from strength or endurance point of view.
Right, cool. So go on then. So you two have kind of really. So one question, I'm sure a lot of people would kind of be thinking, well, what do I need to do? How much time? Some people actually do think there is a science, as in, I need to spend this much time, I need to do so many reps, I know I need to do this. So it is quite confusing because there's a lot, like we've just said earlier, there's a lot of bullshit out there saying you can gain this, you can gain that, follow this program, follow that program. So we're here to kind of break the science down this paper because it's all done, it's a very reputable source in it, kind of. So we know it's all right. These results have been published.
Yeah, these are published, and Brad Schoenfeld's on this paper. So, Brad Schoenfeld's a bit of kind of a gold standard himself in terms of muscle hypertrophy, diet, nutrition kind of stuff. So, a few things that we probably need to kind of prioritize in terms of topics that it talked about. So the first one is in terms of the principle, which is like, what is the minimum I need to do when I walk in the gym to get an effect? What's the superfluous stuff? What's the kind of the fluff around the sides that I can get rid of? And like having a general warm up and a general cool down were the first things to do. Like, you don't need to do those. Now, let's not get carried away saying they're not beneficial, because they absolutely are. They are useful and beneficial if you have the time to do them. Yeah. I don't feel like I could go and lift my best without doing that general warm up. What I would need to do is basically say you can have a very specific set exercise by exercise warm up. So basically, if I was doing squats, I could just do took a couple of lighter sets of squats as part of my training. That would be the warm up for that. So I just have a warm up per exercise. So if I was doing like 3 exercises in a particular session, I could just have maybe 1 or 2 sets that exercise at a lighter load to get warmed up for that exercise. That's all I need to do. So it's a good way of adding a bit more volume to each exercise without adding a huge, like a 15 to 20 minute warm up at the beginning of your session. So I could do like almost a full body strength session in 25 minutes or 20 minutes. And that's largely getting rid of the warm up and cool down at the beginning.
Yeah, because there's still some people still think they've got to do 10 minutes on a bike to get warmed up. They think that to genuinely like really increase the core temperature and get a bit of a sweat on before they can lift weights. So it's a real, it's a bit of a touchy subject. We need to know that you don't have to do that.
And don't get me wrong, there's a benefit to that. Like adding 10 minutes of cardio activity, aerobic activity to your week is not going to be a bad thing in terms of overall general health. But in terms of what you need to do for that
time
session,
and get your training in, get your lifts in, you don't
absolutely, in terms of some basic principles of what they wanted to get across from the paper, and so they're looking at roughly 4 sets per muscle group per week. That's all you need to do. Right. 4 sets per muscle group per week. That doesn't mean
so that's me going into the gym. Let's make it really simple. That's me going to, I want to improve my back squat. So that's me going to gym. So I must complete to make any improvements 4 sets per one. So 1 session per week, but I must do a minimum of 4 sets.
Yeah, that's per muscle group. Now, don't forget, you might do 1 exercise. So you might say that's for your glutes and for your quads.
Yeah,
you might want to do another lower body exercise that's more hamstring dominant, like a good morning or a remaining deadlift or something like that. You just have to do 4 sets of that exercise. So you're having some hamstring development. Yeah. So you kind of need somebody to work with, like a coach or a trainer to work with, to make sure that you've got a good understanding of anatomy to make sure that all your major muscle groups are being hit. But the minimum you need to do is 4 sets per week.
Yeah, of how many reps?
Now, that's the good thing. So basically, they're saying there's benefits from working at different intensities. That's how heavy or how light you want to work at. So basically, what they're saying is that the 8 to 12 reps is the ideal range because it gets you some strength and some hypertrophy. So you might want to do, your first set might be a lighter set of 12 reps and then a heavier set of 8 reps. Or you might go 12, 10, 8. You might do 3 12s or 3 8s or 12, 10, 8, 8, or you can play around with how you do it as much as you want, but relatively heavy. And the 8 to 12 repetition range is kind of the sweet spot because that gets you some strength and some hypertrophy. If you go much,
Mark, sorry, mate. One of the things that we're saying, like if you hadn't got access to heavier weights, if you were training at home, as long as you are training to roundabout failure, you could. That would get you maybe won't get the strength benefits, but the hypertrophy benefits, wouldn't you still? But obviously that does take longer then as well. If you're having to do 20 reps because you've got a lighter weight to get somewhere near failure, or 25 reps, that's going to prolong your training session as such in it as well.
Yeah. And you could, if you have no equipment whatsoever, you could do 1 set of squats for like 40, 50 reps in a minute. And you have the muscular endurance part. You might get a little bit of hypertrophy. You won't get particularly stronger unless you're very weak to begin with. And it's like, if you're really weak, anything is going to make you stronger. If you're relatively strong and you have no equipment, you'll get some benefit from that, but not that much. But definitely the optimal range of that 8 to 12 repetitions, around about 60 to 80% of your 1 RM. That's where you need to be. 4 sets. If you did 4 sets of that per muscle group per week, you've kind of ticked your bases. You're going to be okay. But then you've got to look at your major muscle groups. So you got and I look at it rather than muscle groups, muscle movements. So overhead push, overhead pull, like a front push, front pull, a squat and a hinge. So if you did kind of those 6 kind of basic movements, you did 4 sets of each per week, that's all you need to do. You can get more benefits from doing more, but we're talking about if you had limited a time, can I get 20 minutes in? That's what I would do. And I would maybe go with 2 sets as a warm-up, but I wouldn't include them in my work sets. And so you have like 2 warm-up sets per exercise, 2 work sets per exercise. And it's those 2 work sets that count in your 4, not the 2 warm-up sets. But that's just making sure that you are technically warmed up for that particular movement.
Yeah.
But like for a lot of people, that's got to be great news, to be honest, because there's a lot of people who think sometimes I ain't got time to get to the gym 2 or 3 times this week, or I'm gonna, like I ain't got an hour to go to the gym. So if they don't think they've got an hour or an hour and a half out of the day, they won't go. They won't do anything. And if they think they can get something out of a 20-minute workout, if they can walk through our door, they might not have a full hour with us, but if they think they can still be out, it's still enough. We've been telling people this for days out, like people question the hour. Do I need a full hour? Do I, or am I all right? Can I do less? And we say, well, it depends how hard you're training. So sometimes you don't need the full hour. Sometimes the full hour is spinning out.
Great.
So it'll be good.
On top of that as well, because you're doing these basic movements as well, like say, for example, squat, Romanian deadlift, you're doing a bench. It's minimal equipment really as well. It isn't like you need, even if you want training with us, you don't need to go to the gym and need to be taking up loads of space. Exactly. You could do it with a barbell or a couple of good dumbbells, or like near dumbbell rack, couldn't you? You can do it relatively simple with not a lot of equipment if you've got the right amount of weight. So
we've got only got a couple of this list. I think it's worth just kind of clarifying a few other kind of issues that the paper at. So in terms of priorities, unilateral, like single joint action, things like a bicep curl or a tricep kickback, they're just kind of like time killers. They had no extra benefit from the multi-joint stuff, but because you're looking at joint by joint by joint by joint, you just ate up lots of time. So it was like, right, get rid of all that. That's why I was like those kind of broad movements of push, pulls, squat and hinge. If you do those, you're going to cover every major muscle group that you've got, and every major muscle will be worked. And you can tweak them and do them slightly differently to focus on different muscle groups more than the others. Again, that's why having an experienced and knowledgeable trainer comes in, because they can shift the exercises to make sure that all the muscles are trained, but in the movements that you want to work in. And the other kind of ways we can manipulate time with things like supersets and trisets. So if you imagine going from an upper body push to upper body pull to a squat, you're hitting 3 different movements, and therefore you're attacking 3 different muscle groups each time, but you're resting with one while the other one's training. So you can maybe like do three exercises in a superset, and that could take you 20 minutes, but you've covered everything. You might do five sets of each exercise. You get real good strength development in those exercises, and you're going to really do it in a time efficient way.
Well, you're not wasting your time getting your rest periods, are you? Because there's obviously quite a bit on there that your rest periods are important when you're building strength and muscle and muscle as well. So allowing them to, that's how we always train clients.
The recommendation is to have at least 2 minutes rest. Now, what that means is actually you are completely recovered to lift the most weight next time. And what makes you better, burns more calories, makes you stronger, grows more muscle, is how much load you move. If you move more load, you will get better. So just like going quickly and feeling tired might be feeling like you're doing something productive at that moment in time. It doesn't really help you. So having a 2-minute rest period, but that might be if you have 4 minutes between each exercise, but in that 4 minutes you've done 2 other exercises, as long as you have like 30 seconds to a minute between each one to get your breath back, each group is getting 4 minutes of recovery, but you is only getting a minute between each exercise. Just be careful in terms of like technical exercises that you're not out of breath and tired, so you're losing technique. Yeah,
you need to be focused, don't you? So you can lift.
We're down to our last minute, so if we want to should we just kind of pull that together there?
Yeah.
I think we can talk a little bit more about this, Kat, and how we can advance it in the future. But
I think as next one, yeah, we'll definitely we'll go on a little bit further. I think that you could talk about it all day, couldn't you? So that's it for now. So thanks for listening, everybody. Cheers, Mark. Cheers, Matt. So we'll wrap it up there, and we will see you on the next episode, and we'll touch on that, and then we'll crack on with this next subject. Hope you've all found that a bit useful. Are we all done? All right.
Yeah.
See you later.